Have you ever tried to do a pull-up? Yeah, a pull-up, single pull-up. Many people have. I believe most probably haven't been able to get up. But for those that can, normally it's maybe about a dozen and your arms are jelly. Well, today's guest has conquered a mighty 4,182 pull-ups inside a 24-hour period. What's more is he's not resting on his laurels. He's looking to add a couple of extra 1,000 pull-ups in addition to that world record that was set just a few years ago. Introducing today's guest, Caine Eckstein, also 5 times Coolangatta Gold Winner and 2011-12 Nutri Grain Ironman Champion. Get set for a ripper of an interview, an episode of the Physical Performance Show.
And the winner is...
Failure is not an option.
I've had my ups and my downs.
I think it's an absolutely breakthrough experience.
Welcome to the Physical Performance Show, the show designed to inspire the pursuit of your physical best performance. I'm your host, Brad Beer. Listen in as we delve into how the world's top physical performers achieve their success, as well as the highs, the lows, and the journey of getting there. Let's get ready, set, let's go. Welcome, listeners, to another episode of the Physical Performance Show, the show that takes you behind the curtain of the lives of the world's best physical performers. I'm your host, Brad Beer. If it's your first time listening in, a big welcome. If you're a return listener, thank you. I trust you'll enjoy this episode and share it around with your fellow peak performers. Listen in as we delve into how top physical performers achieve their success. In today's episode, we have a fireside chat with Ironman world record holder Caine Eckstein. Today's show is lovingly brought to you by POGO Physio, the physiotherapy practice that helps you discover your best pain-free performance so that you can do the physical things that you love. Let's jump right in. So I've been looking forward to this interview since the idea was birthed, actually, for the podcast, to sit down with the gentleman who I'm sitting with today, Caine Eckstein. Just as by way of introduction, listeners, you're going to really enjoy this interview. This guy lives to the max in terms of what he does in his sporting world. Just by bio way, Caine's bio is very impressive. He's the 5 times Coolangatta Gold Winner, and for any overseas listeners, that's one of the most arduous Ironman surf lifesaving races, if not the most arduous in the sport. And Caine's a 5 times winner, the most prolific winner in the event's history. Caine also won the 2011-12 Nutri Grain Ironman Series title in a close race with 2 other key contenders that year. And something that just is outstanding that I can't wait to dive into today is in 2014 it may have been, I'll clarify this with Caine smashed a Guinness World Record for the most pull-ups or chin-ups within 24 hours. Caine completed a whopping 4,210 chin-ups inside 12 hours, breaking 2 records, the most pull-ups within 12 hours and 24 hours. So let's jump straight in. Caine, first question's a bit out of the box for you, and that's, what's something that scares you?
I don't know, probably working a normal job scares me. So I've just been trying to sort of steer clear of that and doing everything a little bit different. But obviously growing up, me and my brother grew up on the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia, and my dad was a lifeguard, so we grew up pretty much around the beach, and he loved surf life saving, so he got us into that, and pretty much, we're always going to do that sport no matter what we really wanted to do. That was just, we're just around it every single day. So, Shannon's pretty much the greatest Ironman of all time. And then, obviously I've won 5 Coolangatta Golds and a Nutri Grain Series. So I've done, a bit of everything in the Ironman sport. So, I'm pretty proud of that we both sort of succeed in the sport that's all we grew up with. And then, me outside of Shannon, I get a little bored in the off seasons and everything like that. So I try and do a few different sort of things. And I've done the Hawaii Ironman as well. And then, I've done a lot of pull-ups just in training. And, so, I just sort of realised I was, half decent at the pull-ups. Just doing it in training, I could sort of beat most of the people I did gym with. So I just pretty much Googled Googled world records. So I thought there must be a world record out there, and just found the Guinness World Records, and then that was sort of my goal from there, and it sort of excited me definitely because I'd done Ironman for probably 17 years, and then this was just a new thing, and then went over to New York and did it live on the Today Show, which was probably the biggest thing I've ever done, and I was lucky enough to succeed sort of live on the Today Show under all that pressure. It was pretty cool.
So, mate, what is it that scares you about a normal job?
I don't know. I think I'd just I'd either get bored with it, or I'd miss out on everything that I do during the day. Like just this morning, I sort of did 500 pull-ups at about 9 o'clock, and just that was, I just had breakfast and did pull-ups, and then just go and get a coffee after. I just love that life. So yeah, hopefully I can keep doing it as long as I can, and hopefully a few other sort of doors open up, and I can sort of stay in sort of the world that I enjoy. Yeah, be good.
That's cool. So we won't see you in a cubicle anytime soon.
Hopefully not.
I don't think we'll ever see you in one, actually, mate. So Caine, tell us about what you would rate with, and we're going to dive into this myriad of things you've achieved in your sporting career. But tell us about what you would rate as your single greatest physical accomplishment to date.
I'm not sure. I think it'd be, obviously with the Coolangatta Gold, the first year I won it, I was 19 years old, and there was, Shannon was, 3 years older than me, so, he had done a little bit more in the sport, and he was probably a favourite going into that race, and I was just, it was my first, I think, open event coming out of the under 19, so I'd never raced those guys before, so, I had no pressure on myself, and I just pretty much went in there expecting, to get 10th or something like that, so, it's always good to win races like that, but you don't have that relief at the end, because you never had pressure going into it. And then I think I had a couple of years off after that, and did a little bit of triathlon as well, and then sort of come back in, and there was talk that there was better guys doing it this year and I couldn't win and everything like that. So I like winning those races that sort of people sort of don't expect me to, and I've got a lot of pressure, and I come back and won it my second time, and then I think going into it your third and your fourth time, I did it 4 years in a row there, everyone expects you to win, so you're lining up with 60 or 70 guys, and you're pretty much like, I know I've got no head start on them or anything like that, and no pressure or people expecting me to win is going to help me out. It's pretty much what I do in that 4 hours is going to get the victory. So it's a lot of pressure to have, and I think that's sort of what makes you tough and sort of builds character, and you just cross the line, and it's everything right there. Nothing else matters. So I think they're the races that probably mean the most to me. Probably like the third year I won the Coolangatta Gold, and the fourth year I had a lot of pressure on myself going into that, and there was good guys doing it pretty much. It wasn't easy. So yeah, I was a lot of relief when I sort of did that.
And if you had to pick one of those, because they're all significant for their different reasons, what would the one be? The first victory? Or the successive ones?
Yeah, I think
now been 5.
I think maybe the third time I won it. I won it the first year, and I didn't do it for 2 years and come back. And a lot of guys didn't expect me to win, but I still didn't really have that pressure on myself. But then when I come back for the third year, I sort of showed everyone, I won it the second time, and I beat, all the guys. And I think I won by 2.5 minutes or something like that. But then the third year I come back, everyone just expected me to win. The same guys still did it, and they all sort of knew how I raced and everything like that. So I'd know, I pretty much had all the disadvantages coming against me, and I probably the other guys take it a lot more serious than me. I get serious, but I probably don't. A lot of the other guys just won't do anything for 6 months. I know Dean Mercer moved away from home and lived by himself for 3 months leading up to the race. I'd never do something like that. A lot of the guys, or they don't touch alcohol for 6 months leading up to it, and yeah, so the other guys take it really, really seriously. So it's not an easy race to win. So yeah, I think the third year I won it was a close sort of race, and it was really hot, and just had a lot of pressure on myself. And obviously my brother didn't do it, so I've got him helping me and stuff like that. And I know how good he is, and he pretty much wins everything he goes in. So I sort of put all that against me and sort of take all that pressure in. So I've got to perform on the day, and luckily I have. So yeah, it's all worked out.
And for overseas listeners and those that aren't familiar, if you're not familiar with the sport of surf lifesaving, Caine's alluding to his brother Caine Eckstein, who's a multiple world Nutri Grain Australian Ironman Champion, and Shannon's going to be an upcoming guest on the show. But Caine, could you explain for anyone that isn't familiar with the Coolangatta Gold, in a couple of sentences, what the race is all about, what it entails?
Yeah, so it's just a one-off race. So the Nutri Grain series that we do is 6 races, but the Coolangatta Gold is pretty much the first race of the year. We always do it in the start of summer, and it's a 4 to 4.5 hour race. And you sort of start off with a 23-kilometre ski race, and then you're running, swimming, and board paddling. Then finish off with a run for that 23 kilometres back. So it's a 46-kilometre race, which pretty much covers the whole Gold Coast up and back. And, obviously growing up in the Gold Coast, I know it like the back of my hand, but also, you're doing your home ground and you got everyone there. I've got, hundreds of bloody family on the Gold Coast, so they all come and watch. And it's a good event for us. But, it's a lot different. The series of something like that, you can have a sort of a bad race and sort of, the next 5 races be good or something like that. Whereas the Coolangatta Gold, you're just coming off the off-season. You haven't really raced before because it's the first race, and it's just, and everyone, in saying that, during the series or whatever, everyone sort of works out where they are, and, you don't have all the people sort of just overestimating themselves like in the off season. You have everyone sort of trains in the off season. They think, last season I'm so much better this year, and then they all start talking about how good they are and how they're going to win and everything like that. The off season brings out a lot of that. So it's a hard race, but in saying that, I sort of get bored in the off season, so I just really want to do something. So I think that's sort of, why I've sort of always had that momentum going into the first race of the year, yeah. Yeah,
great. And Caine, just before we move off the Coolangatta Gold, you said as a 19-year-old, would that have been around 2005? 2005. I clearly remember you winning. I was in Canberra. It was in my final year of physio studies. I had a placement at the AIS. And I was housed in the boxing, the in-house units there with the boxers, and they were a wild bunch. This is leading into the 2006, I think it was Melbourne Commonwealth Games. And I remember seeing the news, and it was Caine Eckstein wins Coolangatta Gold. And I remember going, that's incredible, because I knew, you're 19, just, out of the blocks, and the history of that race here in Australia, it's so significant. I'm like, wow, that's a huge victory. So at what point of that race did you think, I'm going to pull this off? Like, was it, that last run leg, because it used to finish at Surfers Paradise, right?
Yeah. And that was the first year. I think it stopped in maybe 87. So they did it maybe, 7 years or 8 years or something like that, maybe from 1980 to 87. And then my dad did it a couple of times during that time. But then they stopped it and they didn't do the race. And that was the rebirth of the race, 2005. So no one had done it before, pretty much, or everyone that was competing in 2005 obviously didn't do it back in the 80s, and it was this big build-up because they made a movie out of it back in, 87 and stuff like that. So it was a big build-up to that year. But in saying that, I was 19, and you didn't really know how far. Everyone thought the race was 46 kilometres, and they thought it was, like it was 2 days. Like, everyone just thought it was such a marathon. It was so huge, and obviously doing it now, it's a long race, but it's not. You can't just go 3/4 pace the whole way and expect to go good. And it's a long race, but everyone trains really hard, so it's pretty much 90-95% the whole way. And so obviously it was a good race, but I think coming off the board, the board goes into the last run, and the last run was 10 kilometres. I was with my brother Shannon. We caught the same wave in on the board. So, and then, obviously I didn't know how good we didn't really train together leading into that race. So I didn't know how good he was going to run, or he didn't know how good I was going to run. And I think from there I just sort of ran away. But in saying that, I don't really think about the time or anything. I just take it maybe 50 metres out from the end. I think, okay, maybe I've got this. But I just sort of pin the ears back and just run pretty much.
Went for it.
Yeah.
And you're well regarded as an exceptional endurance athlete in sport and runner. And as a runner myself, I've certainly watched you move on that sand, and you don't muck around, mate. So Caine, just how did you get started in the sport? Obviously you mentioned your father back in Surfers Paradise Surf Lifesaving Club. He was the guy that put the boards and boards at that stage in both yourself and Shannon's hands, right? So your dad was really pivotal in getting you started.
Yeah. Well, we pretty much grew up just in Mermaid Beach, and my dad lifeguarded for I think 25 years at Mermaid, and and then he was part of Currumbin Surf Club and Northcliffe Surf Club pretty much all his life, and then he got the coaching role at Surfers Paradise Surf Club. So he sort of started coaching, and then I was foam board, so I was maybe under 8s, so I was 7 years old, and I think Shannon obviously is 3 years older than me, so he was a little bit older, but I think he was on the hard boards then. So we started at that time, but even that, a lot of kids these days are starting at 5 years old or whatever, so we were a little bit later, especially Shannon. He only started maybe when he was like 10 or 11. Wow. But then, basically my dad coached us all the way up until I was, I think, 19, and then he went to Curra Surf Club, and me and Shannon sort of went to Northcliffe because that was a really strong club, and we just kept on going with it. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I remember the first time I think I met both of you boys, you weren't very big at that stage. You're a little guy. I remember, in terms of certainly not the shoulders you have on you now. So that would have probably been around that era. And then, mate, in terms of obviously the surf lifesaving community, your father's passing. How has that fueled your racing? And the days after that, you're a young guy when your dad passed. You were how young?
Yeah, I think I was only 20. Yeah, so 20. It was a year after he watched the first Coolangatta Gold. So it was different then. As I said, I didn't train with Shannon, so Dad sort of went with Shannon and took him training. And Mum actually, every afternoon, she'd drop me off and do paddlebacks and stuff like that. So he watched us the first year, which was good. And then after that, as I said, I didn't do it for 2 years, so I went off and did triathlon. I think that was around that time. I didn't know really what I was racing for. I always, he coached us, so we would go training, then we'd have dinner, and you just try to impress him all the time. If I had a good session, we used to eat dinner pretty much with pride because you knew you had a good session. You honestly did. So then after he passed away, you didn't really, I just didn't really have the motivation like it was, because to me I didn't really care about it as much as I wanted to impress other people, pretty much. Yep. So but then after that, obviously Shannon kept on going, and he pretty much won a couple of Nutri Grain series in that time that I went off and did my own thing. So it sort of gives me the motivation to come back and do what we always did, and you're not just impressing someone just at the time, you're sort of doing it for yourself as well. So got me back.
So that era, after your dad there, was very much for you to discover the why of why you wanted to race, because up until that point it had been largely around wanting to make your dad proud. And,
pretty much. And then obviously when I come back, I did the Coolangatta Gold again, but then it was probably the best time that I won the series. And in saying that, I think it was probably just sort of having it sound like I'm cocky, having tickets myself, but winning the series that year, it was a little bit longer that year. But I think the races that I won 3 out of 6 races, but the races that I won, I actually I sort of dominated. So that was, it was, for me, that was easily the best year I've ever had.
And that was 2011-12. And I read actually in preparing for the interview that Nutri Grain had labelled the final race of the 6-race series, which was at Noosa, one of the most dominant displays of racing in Ironman history, because if I'm correct, the 5 races of the final round were eliminated races, which for the listeners, the last few guys across the line get knocked out, and you're left with, I think that day might have been 6 blokes at the end, 6 guys.
I think it was 6,
And, then it's the first one across the line in that final race. And also that year, you were battling it out with your brother Shannon, who had already won the title numerous times, and Ali Day, who around that stage was starting to make his rise. One of the first show guests, actually, on the Physical Performance show. And talk us through what was going through your head leading into that final race. You locked in a potential debut series title with your brother, and also with Ali. How did you get yourself ready for that final race? What were you racing on that day to win every single race?
I don't know.
I mean, normally in the eliminators, you see, guys sort of getting through and backing off. And
I don't think, because now we do eliminators, we do 3 races. That was a 5-race eliminator, so that was good for me. I like that, but I don't think anyone's won 3 races in the eliminator. I think Liz Plumas has won 3 races in the girls, but I don't think anyone's won 3. And I won the 5. So you sort of you start off with 18, I think, guys, and you knock off sort of 2 or 3 each race, and then you just back up. You have 5 minutes rest and do it again. So that's what. I think that was probably one of the most dominant races in Nutri Grain. So, and then in saying that, you get to the last race and there's 6 guys there, and I just had won 4 races, but you sort of know Shannon's still there and Ali was still in the last race, so it doesn't mean anything. So you got a lot of pressure on yourself on the last race. But it was at Noosa, and it was really, really flat, and I think it was 36 degrees as well, so it was really, really hot, and I just enjoy that. I enjoy the grind away, and so it was especially Shannon. I think going into it, I think Shannon was probably the biggest threat, because I think if Shannon won, I had to get inside the top 3. If I got 4th and Shannon won, then Shannon won the series, so it was still really, really close. But I was just on a roll and just kept on going.
Momentum.
And that was just sort of didn't even think about it. But yeah, looking back on it, that was easily the best year I've had. So it's hard to top that, really. It's hard to go back and sort of do it again. Yeah.
And what was the first thing you said to your brother after taking it out?
Well, honestly, we honestly don't talk about racing at all. It's pretty weird, but. Yeah, I think he was pretty proud of me, obviously, because you can't not be. I didn't really luck it. He knew I did the work, and I sort of got it. And that year, actually, I won the Coolangatta Gold sort of in October, and then the series finished sort of in February. So I had a pretty good run going into that, and then I think the Australian titles was obviously a couple of months after that, and I think I got a top 3 there. So it was a good year for me. But obviously, looking back on it, that was one of the best things I've done. But me and my brother, we don't really talk. We're obviously really proud of each other, and now we're a lot better than what we were back. The year I won the Coolangatta Gold when I was 19, up until sort of being probably 25, we weren't that good. I was always good, but he wasn't that good at sort of taking it. He was a bit of a sook. So he's a lot better now. So which is good, and it's probably the fact that he's got two kids and a wife, and he sort of he still cares about it as much, but he knows there's a lot more outside of it. Back then, I don't think he did. Yeah. So it's pretty good now.
And I mean, you see, Australia's got this rich history of competitive siblings. Whether it's the girls in the pool, Bronte and Kate Campbell, or whoever it is, and I've always looked with intrigue at your household. And one of the women that I think I admire most is your mum, Donna Eckstein, who herself's completed the Coolangatta Gold and runs and stays fit and strong as an ox in my mind. What does your mum do in terms of processing you boys? You're both out there, you're both normally at the pointy end of things, if not always at the pointy end of things. How does your mum? What does she do? I can't imagine it as a parent myself.
Yeah, no, she's good. She's got a sort of now she just lets us go off do our own thing. But yeah, she was good, especially when we lived together. It's sort of separating it all. But I was always more like Dad and just sort of did my own thing. I didn't really whinge about anything or anything. Whereas Shannon was always more like Mum. If I did anything, because he's like a sort of a teacher. If I did anything wrong, he'd ring up Mum and tell Mum, Caine did this or whatever, and she knew by the time I got home. So yeah, he was always very linked with her. But in saying that, yeah, she's obviously really proud of us, and she knows, obviously she did the Coolangatta Gold, so she knows what we put into everything and how much it means to us. So yeah, she sort of just lets us go off and do our own thing, and then it works out. Obviously she sees, so yeah, it's good.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. So mate, let's shift gears. Let's talk about, if we can, just for a moment, your foray into triathlon. My background was in triathlon as a junior, and I was really intrigued when you switched and went off to race the Hawaii Ironman Triathlon. So can we just talk for a few minutes around that? Your debut at Kona. What was behind that, and how was that? I've known a lot of the triathletes like Chris McCormack and Craig Alexander and stuff. I've had a lot of sort of discussions with them. Just even when I was doing Ironman, I had nothing to do with triathlon. So and still now, I think they're the best endurance athletes in the world, the Hawaii Ironman guys. So just always up for a challenge. So I just wanted to try and do my best and see how. But obviously growing up with Ironman racing, you sort of get a physique that's not really suited to a triathlon. I did a lot of riding, a lot of running. I slimmed down a lot, and I get light. I got to I think 67 kilos at one stage, but I still got shoulders on me and everything like that. So he has got shoulders, listeners. We'll put some photos in the show notes, particularly doing chin ups. Sorry, Caine.
Yeah, but and then I think I won the Coolangatta Gold maybe the third or fourth. I think the fourth time, and I just spoke about it, I think, after in a media interview, and then the Hawaii Ironman, I don't know, it was Triathlon Australia, Hawaii Ironman guys said they'd give me a wild card if I wanted to do the race, and that was only 3 months out of October for the Hawaii Ironman, and I sort of decided, I'd probably prefer to do that than the Coolangatta Gold again. I'd done the Coolangatta Gold. It might have been my fifth time, I think, actually. Yeah, the 5 times. So I just, pretty much got a bike and started running. But then within sort of 6 weeks, I fractured my heel bone, and then I went and got an MRI on my heel, and I had a bone tumour in my heel. So, I pretty much couldn't. I think it might have been 6 or 8 weeks outside of Hawaii. I couldn't run up until then, and obviously, like if it was me, I would have probably not done the race just because I know that's not very good preparation, not running sort of 6 to 8 weeks out from Hawaii. But I'd gotten a wild card, and triathlon people are pretty sensitive. All the those guys, so they're all saying why Caine Eckstein get a wild card and all this, and I didn't ask for a wild card. They gave me one, so I took it. But I couldn't really pull out because then it looks like he's got this wild card and he's told everyone he's going to do it. Now he's not doing it. So I went over and did it, and I was riding really, really well, and obviously I swam well, and but I had a pretty bad heel, so I fractured the heel, and I sort of got I think 16k into the run, and then I sort of had to stop. I pretty much stopped at my hotel, so I got to my hotel and then come back, and I'd had surgery on my heel and sort of scoop out all the tumour like in my heel. So, and I probably should have done it before I went over, but I just had to go over, and it sort of got to about the size of a golf ball, the bone tumour, and then it was a benign tumour, so it wasn't cancerous or anything. But and then that put me out for like 8 months. I think I couldn't run. It was sore for probably 2 years, honestly. If I sat on the couch on the chase and had my heel up on the chase with my other sort of foot on top, like it would just be sore, like my heel. It was just really tender. So it was a pretty full-on injury for sure.
It's certainly not a common thing, particularly in the heel, let alone for an endurance athlete. The irony of it. I mean, just to unpack that. So 12 weeks you weren't riding a bike for, and for listeners, if you're not familiar with the Hawaii Ironman triathlon, it's a 3.8k swim, 180k bike, followed by a 42.2 marathon run to finish through the lava fields of Kona in Hawaii, and it's extremely hot and windy normally. So it's, as Caine alluded to there, one of the, if not, I mean, it's highly debatable, and to be honest, who really cares where it is in terms of the spectrum of is it the hardest or is it not? It's just an incredibly arduous event. So Caine, you went over with less than 12 weeks of bike preparation to tackle a 180k ride.
Yeah. So I remember it was just I had 3 months, and I hadn't really rode a bike before that, but I picked it up really well. I was riding with guys like Tim Burkle, and I think there was like 5 actual, there was a couple cyclists and actual Ironman races. So, and then every Wednesday we do motor pacing and stuff with those guys. And so I knew I was going really well, because I was most of the times I was hanging on the longer, pretty much every time I was hanging on the longest out of those guys. So the bike was definitely my strength. Even swimming was my strength, but I think the bike was even, I knew a few coaches and they told me you ride the bike well. And then my run, obviously I'd done a lot of running, but my run was definitely a lot weaker than my bike. And then I just overran pretty much. I tried to squeeze in heaps and heaps of running into that sort of 6 weeks leading up to it, and then I fractured my heel, and it all sort of went downhill. So just because I was pretty much coming off the off season and not running. We don't run leading into Aussies and stuff like that. So it would have been better if maybe I had a year or something like that. But
I love the enthusiasm, mate, and I love the go get it spirit. Certainly, I mean, so did you enjoy the bike, just out of interest?
I definitely. It'd be the triathletes, the ones that go over to San Diego or California and live the 4 months over there during the summer, or they go to Europe. So they've definitely got the lifestyle. I've grown up on the Gold Coast. I know the Gold Coast back to front, but I pretty much did all my riding by myself, or most of it by myself on the Gold Coast. So it was a little bit boring, but I definitely enjoyed it. Especially every Wednesday we used to meet and do motor pacing. We used to ride sort of 160k every Wednesday and do sort of 3 20-minute blocks of motor pacing. So I sort of definitely jumped into the deep end with cycling, but I really, really enjoyed it. And I was, even after I fractured my heel and had surgery, I jumped back on the bike sort of when I could. I couldn't ride for I think 6 weeks, and but then it was really, really hard to come back to cycling and running. After 8 months of no running, it was just sort of starting again when I could go back to Ironman racing and sort of earn a wage and sort of get back to being a good guy, rather than sort of starting again with triathlon and sort of just doing it all over again. It was sort of pretty hard to do that. And you were first out of the water too, I think, weren't you, by a country mile? I was first out of the water by sort of 2.5 minutes or so, and then I think I held on to, this is age group, held on to the lead until maybe 90k or so on the bike, and then I got second off the bike going into the run.
Wow. So do you think you'll ever go back?
I'd like to, I'm doing a few things with a mobile app and stuff at the moment, so if that sort of works out, I'd like to just do it as something I'd love to do, and just like a hobby sort of thing, and just see how I went at it. But to do it professionally, it's hard to sort of start from the start. And I had a good coach who'd been to Hawaii 17 years in a row, and he sort of said to me, I think you could win it in 5 years. I honestly think you can win Hawaii Ironman in 5 years, but in 5 years it's a long time to obviously try and support yourself for a couple of years and then sort of get a few sponsors and sort of get by. Whereas you're trying to make a living, sort of.
So it's tough, mate.
It's hard, yeah.
Well, I think I was incredibly impressed with your attempt. It was very impressive, mate. And so, Caine, shifting another gear, let's talk about the world record that you set for chin-ups. So you mentioned pull-ups, because and clarify that, is pull-ups the technical term under the Guinness Book of World Records? Yeah, well, pull-ups and chin-ups are two different things. So pull-ups with your hands sort of underneath the bar coming back. So and then chin-ups is with your hand underneath the bar coming back, and pull-ups is over the top. Yep. So pull-ups is the harder way, and chin-ups is sort of using your biceps. So your hands are coming in from the front of the bar and coming over the top, whereas pull-ups is over the top. Yeah, a lot more lats. Yeah, so it's a lot more lats and more sort of just upper body strength. So you would pull-ups. Yep. So how did, I think you mentioned at the start of the show here, but you Googled pull-ups because you realised that you were a bit, compared to the other guys you were training with in the gym, you had a bit of a gift for it. You could win the chin up pull up challenge. Mate, how did you then find yourself over on US live TV with a massive audience and all this media attention? And I'm just intrigued. Bridge that gap from looking up on the net to actually being in the US on US TV. Walk us through that. Well, as I said, I Googled it, and there's a lot of records. I think there's a minute record, there's a 3-minute record, there's an hour record, a 6-hour record, 12-hour record, and 24-hour record. So initially I wanted to do the hour record, which was, it was pretty hard, but that's what I'd trained for. I'd done a lot for the hour record, and I was going really, really good leading up to that. But then I sort of got the New York sort of stint I knew sort of my friend in New York, and then one of his best friends was second in charge at NBC, and the Today Show is NBC Today Show. So it just worked out, and he sort of gave him, my details and what I was trying to do, and when I wanted to do it. And then, for the hour world record, I just thought the 24 hours starting on the Today Show one morning and going, through the night in the studio and then finishing on the Today Show the next morning, I thought that was just a pretty cool idea. So I sort of got away from that hour record and then moved to the 24-hour record. And then, training doesn't really change too much, but and then just, I was training for the Coolangatta Gold as well, because I think I did the pull-up record on October 6th, and the Coolangatta Gold was 3 weeks later on the end of October, and I thought I was going to be able to do both. So, I went over to New York, and basically I hadn't done that many pull-up proper sessions, and I was just winging it mainly on fitness, and that's pretty much why I tore my bicep, and I had a lot of hand issues. My hands sort of ripped up a lot, but I was able to get the record in 12 hours, so I did the 12-hour record and the 24-hour record. And then as I said, I tore my bicep, so I come back and I tried to do the Coolangatta Gold 3 weeks later, but that didn't really turn out too well. So Caine, the 12-hour record was how many pull-ups? So the 12, I'm not sure what the 12-hour record, I knew the 24-hour record was 4,180. Yep. And then... and you went to 4,210. Yeah, so I went to 4,210 in 12 hours, so I got the 12-hour and the 24-hour record. So what was your tempo? I think from memory reading about it, you were doing X amount per minute or something? Yeah, so I did 6 a minute for... I was just planning to do 6 a minute for as long as I could, and I think I tore my bicep probably at 7 hours, so... I knew I still had a lot of 6 minutes to do, so I pretty much went to 6 a minute for 10 hours, and I worked out if I did 5 a minute for the next 2 hours, that would do 4,200, and I think it was just under 10, and I did a couple more at the end there, so So you knew that you actually had torn your bicep, you felt an acute tear? After I think 7, I get dizzy when sort of I injure myself or I break a bone or something like that. I get dizzy and I get faint, and probably after 7 hours, I think it was more to do with my hands. I could have used anything I wanted on my hands, but I tried to be the tough guy and look and just not really, I didn't see it as cheating or anything using anything else, but I just wanted to be just sort of old school, and I just used tape. I just taped my hands up,
And that didn't, it wasn't the best sort of idea because my hands after probably 2 hours just really, really ripped up, like it was all the way through. And I think that was just making me not do pull-ups correctly, and I was sort of favouring one side, and I ended up tearing my bicep on my right arm. And I just started to feel really, really faint every time I got off the bar, sort of after about 7 hours, just really dizzy and sort of lightheaded. And like I knew it must have been not just, inflammation or something like that. I knew it must have been something more serious to make me feel like that. Yeah.
So did you make a phone call back to one of your long-time sponsors, Q-Scan here on the Gold Coast, and talk to the radiologist?
Yeah, I definitely, when I got back, I think I was in America for a week after. So, and obviously I didn't really care too much after that. So yeah, America was fun. But yeah, I had one of my best mates over there, and because I wasn't expecting to do that. So he was over there, and we just got, I think my mum even ran down to one of the chemists because we didn't have Voltaren, and they don't have Voltaren in America, and we just call it Voltaren. And I don't even know if they call it anti-inflammatory cream. They just so mum went down there, had to try and describe to her what we wanted. And she got some sort of cream. And my friend Taddy was just every sort of, because it might take 10 seconds or 12 seconds to do 6 pull-ups, and then you sort of try and sit down and just rest. So, for that 30 seconds, every 30 seconds, he was just rubbing my arm pretty much from 7 hours to 12 hours. Yeah, just rubbing as hard as he could to try and, just release it.
And was it just getting increasingly sorer between 7 and 12 hours?
No, I think it got bad from when I did it, but then I don't know, it started to heat up a little bit, and after I got to 10 hours and I knew I could finish doing 6 a minute, and I started doing 5 a minute for 2 hours, like that was like downhill. I knew I sort of had it then, just because 5 a minute compared to 6 a minute is a big difference. Like just it felt sort of easy, and I knew 2 hours to go, like I've got this. But from 7 hours, like I knew I was in trouble. Yeah.
And so for listeners that struggle to do, because even one pull-up, like the bulk of the population, I dare say, would struggle to do a bodyweight single pull-up, let alone 10 or whatever it may be. I mean, this is incredible. What do you think? Why do you think you're so good at it? What do you think? I've thought about it from a physio perspective, but I'd be interested in your answer.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just I've definitely got a light lower body. Like from my hips down, I'm very light. Like I've got pretty small legs, but I think just, I've always been good. I think I've got sort of good levers as well. I'm good physically. I've got, I think, a little bit shorter arms and like a broader back and, a smaller waist. So just physically, I've always been told like I'm a good gym physical body. Like my body's made to do gym. And then, I think just obviously I've just grown up doing different things. So like I've always, in the off season, I've done circuit sessions in the gym, little 45 seconds on, 15 seconds off, and just, 4 times, which is like an hour session. I've done a lot of hard stuff in the gym and a lot of stuff that normal people don't do. They just do 1 session or 3 sessions. They'll do it just over and over again for 4 years. Whereas like I've done a lot of different stuff. And I think that sort of just helps, just strengthening little muscles that normal people wouldn't. Yep. Like they just do the same thing over and over again. Yep. And then, you're doing swimming, board paddling, ski paddling, like these guys in America that are doing records and stuff like that. They don't do that stuff. They just do, pull-ups, or they just do something else, or, just sort of normal things. Whereas, you're doing everything, which is strengthening all those little muscles in your body that usual people just sort of won't sort of touch. And
so you think that background's been instrumental in in this record attempt, and we were talking off this interview a few weeks ago about what's happened to the record since. Could you share around that a little bit? The world record that you set in the US.
Yeah. So it got pretty sort of popular, I think. I did it in October 2014, and I think sort of the early 2015, the guy I beat tried to do it, and I thought he beat the record, but then it never went up. So he mustn't have, because they look over the tape and they count every pull up pretty much. So and I think he did 1 more than me over the 24 hours, which you shouldn't. I don't know. You should always try and do maybe 200 more or something, just to have a few sort of just a buffer. And so he never went up. So I don't think he could have not counted it correctly or something like that. But then I think 3 guys tried to do it last year in America, just all sort of like Navy guys. I think they were Marines and Navy SEALs and stuff like that. And then a guy from the Czech Republic who's apparently a professional rock climber, and he's done a lot of records in the past, so he's right into it, and he's going pretty well. And so he's put the record now to 6,800 for 24 hours. So yeah, I know I'm pretty keen on getting that one.
So now there's another record attempt that you've got coming up. How far away is it to break that record of 6,800 for 24 hours?
So I'm starting on June 15th, Wednesday morning, June 15th, and then finishing on the June 16th.
So overnight. And is there anything how can listeners get behind this world record attempt?
Yeah, so it'll be airing on the Today Show, like Australian Today Show. So I think I'm starting at sort of 7:45 in the morning, and then obviously finishing on the next morning. And then we've got our radio on the Gold Coast that's going to get down there and cover it live. But hopefully I'm going pretty good at the moment, so I'm going to try and do the 12 as well, the 12-hour record. And then so obviously that'll be 7:45 that night. And then the 24-hour record the next day, because I just want to sort of try and beat this guy.
Want to get it back, mate.
Yeah.
Hey?
But and also I'll be releasing my mobile app at that time, and then we're going to put a live stream on the app. So you download the app, and all it'll be is just one screen with a live stream over that 24 hours with a tally and then a countdown timer. And then, so that'll be the live stream on that.
And listeners, this show will be going live the week leading into Caine's record attempt. So we will put in the show notes the links for the app, and also, the various bits that can help you get behind this world record attempt. But on that, mate, before we move off that, what's your strategy for the 12 hours? What are you setting per minute or...
Yeah, well, I had a couple of ideas because now with training I do a lot of sort of 8 a minute for 8 minutes and 6 a minute for 6 minutes, and that's 114 minutes. And I did, like, on last Saturday I did that. I did 2,500, so 25 times
in one day.
Yeah, so I did 2,500. So it's 8 8s, 6 6s, 14 minutes, 100, and then 25 times. So I think that was 5 hours 50, 2,500.
Wow. So what's the break you have between a set
Nothing.
being 100 reps?
Just
continuous?
Yeah, just continually go, yeah.
So that took you how long to get the 2,500 done?
5 hours 50. So it takes an hour 10 to do 1,000.
Yep.
And then you just back to back to back, yeah.
Yep. And we're sitting here, and I can see over in the back corner there your apparatus. That's where you train, right?
Yeah. So I train over there. So it is. I think the hardest bit is, obviously it's just trying to make your body not break down. So obviously your muscles not tear, because you can do it. Like I can always do it, but you just if you tear your bicep or whatever, you can't do anymore. So you just need to try and get and I think this is why it'll be different this time. I'm doing a lot more pull-ups this time than what I did last time. I'm just focusing on it, doing no other gym, just doing pull-ups every day.
Yep.
And then obviously it's just mental. So trying to do it mentally, it's pretty hard to sit there for 5 hours 50 by yourself and sort of just get up every 60 seconds to do a pull-up and then just go back. So I think that's, a lot of people can't do that, and that's, what I can sort of do. And then, it's just mentally trying to absorb the rest you have as well is hard, because like 60 seconds goes, well, obviously, you might do 8 pull-ups in 14 seconds or 12 seconds. So you got 45 seconds rest. And then you got your 10 seconds to get up to move to the bar or whatever. So you only got 30 seconds of sitting down time. So I was just trying to sort of enjoy that 30 seconds and sort of just take it slowly. Because if you're off or looking at your phone or looking somewhere else, it goes really quick. But you need to, you look at the clock and it goes slower. So just for that 5 hours 50, you pretty much need to look at the clock and just watch it tick and just try and absorb the time. Because if you're just not sort of absorbing it off doing your own thing in your head or whatever, you'll look at the clock and it'll be 57 seconds. You're like, oh, I need to get back up to the bar again.
Wow.
So it's tough like that as well.
And can you have music playing with these world record attempts?
Yeah. So you can have music. Yeah, you can have music or whatever you want. So we'll definitely be doing that. We did that in New York. It was good. Like one of my friends over in New York, he was a sports writer, and he wrote for a lot of the New York Times and everything. He's wrote a lot of books and stuff, and he wrote a big article on it. And he said it was like a big fitness disco sort of thing. So it was pretty funny.
What was on the playlist?
I'll leave that to my mate Taddy. He sort of just had his little Beats by Dre thing going, and pretty much had it. And then my mum and my auntie are there, so every time a song with a bit of swearing comes on, you'd quickly have to press skip or whatever. But but he had a lot of sort of psych up music too, a lot of sort of quote stuff and everything in there. So it was really, really good. And obviously you need that. Yeah. Even when I do pull-ups by myself, if I was doing sort of 3 hours 30 or something like that, I might not use music for the first 1,000, the first hour 10, and then after an hour 10, I'll put music on just something to break it up a little bit.
to bring it home.
Yeah.
Because you're a big Chili Peppers fan, Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, love the Red Hot Chili
They'd have to feature in the playlist.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, you have a bit of everything. Even if you don't have a song that you don't like, you're waiting for it to finish. So like you're doing the pull-ups, waiting for the next song to get rid of that song. So it takes away the time as well. You just find everything to sort of take away the time. Yeah.
What you'd have to have Can't Stop right in there somewhere.
Oh yeah,
on repeat every 5 minutes. Can't Stop. Red Hot Chili Peppers. So Caine, in just bringing this into a close, what's the one bit of advice you'd give to physical performers that are looking to achieve their best, whatever it may be?
Well, I think sort of just need to break it down, like figure out. I know I need goals, like even if it's just training goals or whatever. Like if I'm riding a bike, like if I'm going out, I'll ride a lot now, but I'm not actually doing a bike race or a triathlon. But you just need goals of what you want to do, like in a specific time. And then I love the science behind sort of breaking down, that. And I'm here. I'm 8 weeks out from doing that. What can I do each week? Like what's going to be a hard week, my easy week, or whatever, and then just try and enjoy the journey of getting there, pretty much. So if it's just 20 minutes or 30 minutes a day of exercise, you can still sort of figure it out and just know like that's your program and that's what you made up. So you can sort of it's like you own it. And then that sort of got you to the goal at the end of sort of the end of the program. So I think that with me that sort of excites me, especially with the pull-ups. No one's helping me with the pull-ups, and I'm trying to get to the goal I want to get to. But I've figured out, okay, week 1, week 2, week 3, this is what I'm going to do, and it's my thing. So yeah, it's just sort of having a goal at the end, and then just working out what you need to do up until then, and then just sort of being excited about doing it.
So just like reverse engineer, figure out the goal, and then reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
And mate, what's on Caine Eckstein's bucket list, both sporting and personally?
Well, yeah, sporting. I don't know. Well, personally, I hope. Like I've put a lot. This app, I've probably had the idea of this app for 5 years, and I just didn't touch it. I put it in a little booklet. I did it out in nice Excel and stuff like that, and did it in a nice booklet, and dead set just put it in my bookshelf and didn't touch it for 3 or 4 years until sort of now. So yeah, so it's like my little baby pretty much, and it's pretty cool sort of releasing it to the world. Like it literally is releasing it to the world. So for me, hopefully, that would be the biggest thing in my life if that sort of caught on and everyone was using it and everyone enjoyed it and it was like a big thing. So yeah, hopefully for me, like I'm putting everything into that, and obviously doing this, and that's another sort of motivation to do this world record, to make this event as big as possible and give myself credibility that like I'm doing this, and then I'm releasing this app as well. So hopefully that goes really well. That'd be business wise and personally as well, hopefully that goes well. And then sporting wise, I know, just keep on doing things that I want to do and I want to sort of enjoy.
Yeah, great. And I just have to ask, because I didn't ask through the interview, Caine, after the world record was set in the US on national TV, US TV, did you get some incredible opportunities come your way?
Yeah, definitely. Even with Fox Sports sent a reporter over there to cover it. So that they weren't going to do that leading up to the world record, and they realised how big it was going to be. And then I think it was a day or 2 days before it, they sent a reporter over because they made like a whole thing about it. I think my article that they did was top 5 articles of Fox Sports over that year. Like it beat the NRL Grand Final article. Like they sent me like a little thing. I think it was called What the Fox Award or whatever. And it was a top 5 article of the year. So it got you got heaps and heaps of feedback and heaps of media. And then I did shows like the project and stuff like that, shows that I'd never really done before, and went on the back page on Fox Sports, and just developed a really good relationship with those guys. So which sort of brings it, you can do things after that which lead on to this, because I've already got the credibility that I sort of had to earn there to sort of show the guys that I can do it. And so things that when I won Coolangatta Golds, you get a lot of media opportunities where you're at, but it didn't really sort of, this is just so different, and everyone can relate to pull-ups. Everyone in the world it's pretty much the one exercise that everyone relates to when it comes to sort of physical fitness. Even the Marines and the Navy SEALs and stuff, that's their thing. Like, so it's a pretty sort of relatable exercise. And then you got the blowout number, like 4,000 or 5,000 or 6,000. That sort of takes everyone sort of notice. So yeah, it's a media sort of opportunity for sure.
And it's great. It literally is breathtaking. So Caine Eckstein, thanks so much for your time and for hosting me here in your home on the Gold Coast for this interview. It's been an absolute pleasure. And listeners, we'll drop in Caine's social handles and all the bits I've mentioned through the show in the show notes. So be sure to jump over there, jump on the POGO Physio Facebook community page there, and follow the exploits of Caine. As we get closer to this upcoming world record attempt. So Caine, all the best, mate. Go get them, and we'll be all cheering you on.
Too easy. Thank you.
So there you have it. Another great episode of the Physical Performance Show. How about Caine Eckstein? What a guy. I'd love it if you could jump over to iTunes and leave a review. Reviews help enormously in making the show more visible and able to be enjoyed by more people pursuing their physical best performance. If you've already left a review, a massive thank you. If you're yet to leave one, please jump over there and leave one as soon as you can. If you'd like more physical performance tips, be sure to jump over to pogophysio.com.au and subscribe to our weekly Pogo Press. Coming up in the next episode of the Physical Performance Show, I sit down and have a fireside chat with Luke Webb, Ice Crash Downhill. That's right, Ice Crash Downhill newcomer. It's been called the fastest sport on skates, and Red Bull has a World Series, and this young guy from Brisbane, Australia is competing in it. This is an absolute blast of an interview. You won't want to miss it. So, until next time, keep pursuing your physical best performance. I'm Brad Beer, and this has been the Physical Performance Show.